Thank you so much for joining me today in this very first episode of Catholics Under Construction. This first episode is going to be on the structure of the Old Testament. Now, this isn't going to be like a lecture, it's going to be some call and response. I'm going to hit you quick with, think of it like Snapple facts and things that you can bring to the dinner table for you, your wife, and your kids. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of repetition. This is going to be shorter too, I hope. But ultimately, it's to help ingrain in you in a fun way the structure of the Old Testament. Now let's get after it. All right, so there are 46 books in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, there are 46 books. 4-6, there are 46 books in the Old Testament. Now, the Old Testament is made up of 4 parts. You might be wondering, what are those 4 parts? Isn't it just in chronological order? False. You are mistaken. It is not in chronological order. It is assembled in these parts that I'm going to go over now. So of the 46 books that make up the Old Testament canon, again, 46 books, 46? Wait, is it 40? No, it's 46 books. That's correct. Not 45, not 44. 46 books in the Old Testament. There are 4 parts. Part number 1 is the Pentateuch. Sometimes you'll hear people use the Pentateuch or the Torah as synonyms. They mean the same sections. Pentateuch, Penta, 5. Pentateuch means 5 books. The synonym in Hebrew, which is where we get Torah, just means the law or the teachings. So it means if you hear a person in the beginning of one sentence say the Pentateuch and later on talk about the Torah, he's talking or she is talking about the same section. So Pentateuch, Penta 5, you'll never guess how many books make up the Pentateuch, the first section of the Old Testament. That's right, it's 5. There are 5 books in the Pentateuch. Penta 5 books. They are as follows: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I'm going to say it a little bit faster this time. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. In the Pentateuch, which is made up of 5 books, those 5 books are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That makes up the first part of the Old Testament. And that first part, called the Pentateuch, is made up of 5 books. Now, the second part of the Old Testament canon are the historical books. The historical books are the second section. In the second section that we call the historical books, there are 16. Okay, 16. There are 16 historical books. They are Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, Ezra, Nehemiah, Tobit, Judith, Esther, 1st and 2nd Maccabees. Now, a little bit faster, of the historical books, which we both know are 16. The 16 historical books are Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, Ezra, Nehemiah, Tobit, Judith, Esther, 1st and 2nd Maccabees. 16 books in the 16 books that make up the historical books. What comes before the historical books? That's right, the Pentateuch. And again, how many books are in the first section called the Pentateuch? 5. So it goes, Pentateuch is the first section, 5 books in the Pentateuch. The second section is the historical books, which make up 16 in the historical books. The third section of the Old Testament, the third section, we call the wisdom books. Wisdom books is the third section of the Old Testament canon. Now, how many books are in the wisdom section or the wisdom part? There are 7. There are 7 books, 7 wisdom books in the third part of the Old Testament canon. The third part of the Old Testament canon we call the wisdom books. There are 7. 7 is the perfect number. There are 7 wisdom books, and they are as follows: Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, sometimes it's Song of Songs, Wisdom, Sirach. One more time, of the wisdom books, which we know there are 7, not 8, but 7 books of the wisdom books: Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Wisdom, and Sirach. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Wisdom, and Sirach. Those make up the seven wisdom books. Now, the fourth and final section, the fourth section that comes after the third section, which is the wisdom books. How many books are in the wisdom section, or the wisdom part? That's right, correct. 7. There are 7. Now, what's the second part that comes before the wisdom section? That's right, the historical books. How many historical books are there? 16. There you go. 16 historical books. What's the section, the first section, which comes before the second section, the historical book section? What is that called? The Pentateuch. And how many books are in the Pentateuch? That's right, 5. So it goes Pentateuch, historical books, wisdom books, and the fourth and final section of the Old Testament canon are called the prophetic books. The prophetic books, or the prophets. Prophets. Now, to make things a little bit easier, and in another way, much more difficult, we're going to split up the prophets section into 2 sections. The first are the major prophets. Now, of the major prophets, well, let me back up for a second. How many major prophets are there? Take a guess. There are 4. There are 4 major prophets. Major prophets, there are 4. Of the major prophets, there are 4. 4 make up the major prophets. They are Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. Again, those 4 major prophets, there are 4. They are Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Now, curveball. This is the curveball of all curveballs in the Old Testament canon I'm about to hit you with. Okay, there are 4 major prophets. I've hammered that home well enough, I think. There are 6 major prophet books. What? Okay, so there are 4 major prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Jeremiah also wrote Lamentations and Baruch. If you know Jeremiah is the sorrowful prophet, then it makes sense that he might write something called Lamentations, right? He's lamenting. Jeremiah wrote Jeremiah and Lamentations. Okay, so that's of the 2 extra books, that's one. The second one is Baruch. Well, how can we remember Baruch? Well, Baruch is Jeremiah's secretary. All right, section 2 of the prophetic books. We talked about the major prophets. Now, what's the opposite of a major? A minor. So we have the 4 major prophets that account for 6 books. 4 major prophets that wrote 6 books. So of the 4 major prophets that wrote 6 books in total, there are 12 minor prophets. 12, like the 12 apostles, but there's also 12 minor prophets. 12 minor prophets. And those minor prophets are Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Again, the 12 minor, to the 12 minor prophets, like the 12 apostles, there are 12 minor prophets, are Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. 12 minor prophets. And again, that's 18 total of the prophetic books. Okay? So we have the major prophets, we have the minor prophets. They make up a total of 18 prophetic books. 18 total prophetic books. So that's 18 prophetic books plus the 7 wisdom books plus the 16 historical books, plus the Pentateuch, Penta 5, the Pentateuch, the 5 books of the Pentateuch make up the 46 book canon. 46 book total in the Old Testament. Now, this number, just, full disclosure, for some of our Protestant brothers and sisters, we have 7 extra books than they do. And for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to tell them to you. They are Tobit, Judith, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Wisdom, Sirach, and Baruch. So the 7 books that Catholics have in their Bible that Protestants do not have in their Bible are called the Deuterocanon, the 2nd canon. And that makes up the 7 books of Tobit, Judith, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Wisdom, Sirach, and Baruch. Thank you so much for joining me today on Catholics Under Construction, the structure of the Old Testament. I hope this was very helpful, and I hope this helped get you the repetition you might have been looking for. Thank you so much, and God bless you.